So which enemy player should you focus on in Guild Wars 2 PvP? So this is a question that a lot of new players, but also veterans, actually don't even answer always correctly. And I think this is very hard to actually answer correctly. So today I want to cover this topic and want to debate with you and also give me my opinion when you should switch targets, when you focus on something in PvP, on which enemy you should go first. As always, thanks to my dear supporters on YouTube, Twitch and Patreon. And now, enough of the teasing, let's start. Disclaimer, I'm talking here about ranked, and I'm not talking about monthly ATs, daily ATs, so automated tournaments where you have queue up with 4 other people, maybe are even in voice comms and you're way more organized. This is for people that actually want to get into ranked, that just want to improve at ranked and want to get to a higher rating. So this is what I'm talking about. Of course, if you communicate with an ally on some kind of voice chat, then you have a different aspect to actually keep track which target to focus. I'm talking here about random people that you meet with pugging or just having randomly on your team in a ranked queue. Now, with that much out of the way, let's start with the first really important thing. Of course, if there is a low or pressure target, focus on this one. This is probably the most important thing. So that's the first priority. If you see in a team fight, even if you are outnumbered, always focus on the low or pressure target. Yeah, makes sense? But that not only means that the health pool of the target is low, that also means that if you see that the enemy uses a key defensive skill, or the skill is not even used because it's interrupted or something, then you know there will be a short amount of time after that it's used or after it's actually interrupted where it can't be used again. Yeah. So a healing skill, some kind of invulnerability skill, or even a teleport skill. Yeah. If that's not up, you can engage on this target, even if the target is actually at 90% health, because it might not have another defensive skill or healing skill up. So keep that in mind. Always focus on something like that. Keep track of the cooldowns of the enemies. If you see that an enemy key skill is actually used, focus on this guy. And this is really, really strong if you can't do that consistently. And it doesn't always need to be the target with 20%. So if, for example, the healer has all cooldowns up and someone is at 20%, the healer might actually instantly, the supporter might instantly heal this guy back up. But if the enemy is, so to say, at 50% and uses, let's say, invulnerability skill, you know it's about to run out, then you can focus on this guy because you know they don't have anything else left typically. Or for not only, let's say, Renewed Focus on Guardian is a typical skill like that, or let's say Infused Light on a Herald on your Glint. Those are skillful to keep track of. The next thing, the next priority after, if there's no pressure target or something, if you know that there is a specific build that is used in the enemy team, if it's a typical meta build that is used, and you are very good against that. So for example, if you're playing a really aggressive power build, like a power Mirage with Spear or power Herald or power Willbender, and you see a Necromancer in the enemy team that doesn't have any Shroud, for example, at the start of a match, it's a very easy target. So you know it's actually, this is what you should focus on because it's slow, it doesn't have that much support on its own, and it's not that, so to say, refilled on its life force. So this would be the next important target. Keep that in mind if there's meta builds in the enemy team, which kind of build you're actually good against and which you are not good against. So keep that in mind and always focus on the one that you actually are good against. So you want to get into a nice matchup for you. The next thing that is very important is focus the worst player. That sounds like a really mean thing, but it's some kind of, you know, you want to win. And how do you win? You win by killing the enemy team. And you kill the enemy team very easily if you're outnumbering them. So how can you do that? If you kill one player that is the worst in the enemy team consistently, they will be consistently in an outnumbered situation. So if you can focus and see which enemy player is actually the worst one, and you can focus on them, if the first and the second priority is actually not really easy to find, then the third one can actually help you carry the match. So if you see that an enemy is actually making very obvious mistakes, then it's typical the worst player in the enemy team. So if you can focus on this person consistently, you might win the fights that are even outnumbered because you can consistently pressure the enemy team so much that they maybe go for a res or something on this bad player, so to say, and you will win the match because of that. So keep that in mind. That does not always work because you don't always see it, but if you see it, it's a very nice thing to actually focus on. Next up, we have a very obvious tip. So your teammates are currently focusing on something. So if they focus on someone and they train them down, let's say 4 people are following you, like a necromancer, you can just join them and you make it faster to actually kill them, because it's very unlikely that someone is actually focused by 4 people that they can survive for quite long if the team is not helping them. So if you can do that and your team is actually quite successful with that, then you should do that. Always try to focus one target. You should never have 4 people focused on 4 different targets. That's typically not successful. So if you can focus on one target, it's quite likely you will actually get. But not always your team is actually able to communicate with you for whatever reason. So that means that if nothing of the before mentioned tips actually are applicable to your situation, then I would focus on the most dangerous target. What do I mean by that? The most dangerous target is obviously depending on the enemy team, on the enemy build, on the enemy players actually, how good they are, for example. And you should typically go on the highest DPS player or some key player, or maybe the support player. If the support player is absolutely carrying them, then maybe you should focus on this guy. Or typically you would focus on the highest DPS person. So if there is a really crazy build from range, recasting high DPS on you, you should focus on this person just so that they can't be dealing that much damage and are more focused on surviving. And even if you can't kill them, it's quite likely that damage output from the enemy team will sink by quite a bit, will be decreased by quite a bit, just because you are keeping them occupied with surviving. So always keep that in mind. And always, that's the important part here, try to combine, of course, the tips that I mentioned here. Not focus on a single thing all the time only. Try to combine them so that if there's someone pressured and it's the key player, go on it. And if, for example, the worst player is currently pressured, of course, go on it as well. So it's always a combination of all those tips. I just wanted to really clearly flesh them out, but this is actually what it's all about. Like I said, this is for typical ranked play, and you want to improve, get better rating. There are way more tips on what to focus on, but this is just very concisely put together, I think, what you should focus on and how you actually can decide which enemy player your team or you yourself should actually focus on. Of course, in a duel, you can't really make that work because you're in a duel anyway. But even if you are outnumbered by an enemy team, you can decide which of those 2 players you should focus on, because sometimes you can actually turn the duel if you actually focus on the correct player according to my previously mentioned tips. As always, if you have any comments on that and if you want to share your opinion on that, or if you want to share what you actually think is very worthwhile to focus on the enemy team, please share it in the comment section. I would be really interested to see your opinion on that. And I hope this video helped, especially the new players. If it did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe for more content like this. Thanks to all my supporters that help me keep the light on. Let me know if you want to see more short tip videos for PvP like that. I hope to see you all in the next video.